Hello, welcome to our OSU RIO live streaming Thursday telecast. I'm Patrick Dangle, executive producer of telecast programming at the Ohio State University South Centers. We at the South Centers collaborate with the University of Rio Grande and Rio Grande Community College to promote small business educational programs, students, faculty, agriculture, aquaculture, horticultural programs, and business organizations, to name a few. Our mission is to provide educational programming regarding growing our communities in Southern Ohio, in the state of Ohio, and its surrounding states, and likewise, and more importantly, on a global basis. Over 100,000 viewers and listeners have tuned into some of our different telecasts, which represents over 178 countries. This week's theme is promoting small businesses and how our telecast can assist the business population. Behind the scenes are Dwayne Rigsby, technology specialist, and Kimberly Rouse, program moderator with the Ohio State University South Centers, along with Mike Thompson, director of the Instruction and Design and Media Services at the University of Rio Grande. In the upcoming video, it was pre-recorded and published on January the 9th, 2015. Ohio Valley Bank Common Sense with Brad Bapst and Ryan Mapes featured different financial individuals. And this week they featured Vice President Kyla Carpenter, Director of Marketing at the Ohio Valley Bank. Kyla discusses different marketing approaches that assist small businesses. Now on with Ohio Valley Bank Common Sense.
Yep, that's right. Get back into it. Well, anyway, today we've got a really good program going to bring to you here. We've got Kyla Carpenter. She's the Vice President and Director of Marketing at Ohio Valley Bank. Different topics in the banking world and how they impact small businesses. Good to be back here in 2017, Ryan.
Good to be back, especially after the holidays. It's good to be back to work.
It's good to be back. Tough to come back.
It is tough to come back.
Tuesday was a little tough this week for some of us. But
yeah.
Hey, we're back in gear and gearing up for the big snowstorm coming tonight. Yeah, maybe an inch or two of snow.
We've got our email from work that says don't park over the sidewalks so we can get the sidewalks clean.
And keep it clean.
Good reminder.
The first one of the year is always a little bit of adjustment for everybody to get used to. But
and the kids have been back in school for 2 days, and I'm sure they'll have another day off on Friday.
They're ready for a big break. That's right. Kind of workplace reacclimation is what we call it. That's right. Get back into it. Well, anyway, today we've got a really good program going to bring to you here. We've got Kyla Carpenter. She's the Vice President and Director of Marketing at Ohio Valley Bank. And Kyla, welcome to the program today.
Welcome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Well, good. Well, maybe you could start off a little bit by telling us about yourself and what you do at the bank, maybe how long you've been there with Ohio Valley Bank. I understand you've been there for quite some time.
A little bit of time. As you said, I'm Vice President, Director of Marketing for Ohio Valley Bank, and I have been with the company now for, well, it will be 27 years coming up in March. I'll celebrate my 27th anniversary with the bank.
Wow.
And it's been a wonderful, wonderful time. I have a bachelor's in marketing that I obtained from Marshall University and grew up right here in this area and married my husband in Gallipolis and settled down here. And
so it's kind of a recurring theme with the folks we've had on here from Ohio Valley Bank. And I think it's something that's very stable across the entire organization where, you know, most of the folks in all the leadership roles within the bank are from right here in Southern Ohio, grew up right here. And I think that speaks volumes to the success of the bank in the region is the individuals are caring about the community and committed to the community. So,
and you'll find, I appreciate that you noticed that, you'll find that a lot of the folks at the bank that I work with, we've been there for years. Many of us have been there, 10, 20, 30 years, which is rare, as you know, in this day and age. So that speaks highly of how well they take care of the employees and their commitment to the employees and the community.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you're the Director of Marketing there at OVB, and maybe we could start off by talking just a little bit about the difference in marketing is what we refer to it in the business world,
Yes.
and advertising. And that's what a lot of folks commonly think of as advertising, but really maybe talk a little bit about the difference in those two and how marketing is really a little more focused and planned.
Absolutely. As you said, most people think of advertising, which is what the folks see. It might be the newspaper ads, the billboards, the letters they might receive, the things even as far as social media. Marketing goes so much further. It's everything inclusive. It's the whole thought process, and it is the planning. And that was a key word, and I appreciate you picking up on that, because planning and marketing is the key. You have to have a plan, you have to have a direction, you have to have a goal that you set and that you work toward. Otherwise, you're wasting a lot of time and resources.
Right.
Well, when you talk about having a plan, having a marketing plan, sometimes the hardest thing to figure out is where to start.
Absolutely.
So can you give some advice on that with?
Probably, and I would say this is probably true of any company, regardless of size, but especially for small businesses. Research. Research is your first priority. You have to know about your product or your service. You have to know about your company, its strengths, its weaknesses. You have to know about your target audience. You also have to know about your community and your competitors. Research is your key to drive everything, and from that point, then you can set a plan. And the plan is imperative. You have to have, as I said, the plan so that you can be proactive in your approach and not reactive.
Okay. So, one of the things that we look at, whenever we drive down the street or we look for a place to eat or a place to shop is, and it's familiar with a lot of small businesses, is just kind of having that one identity or that brand
Yes.
that you want to put out there so your customers can identify with your company. And do you see a lot of small businesses that you've been around maybe struggle with that some, or talk to them about the importance of continuing that brand? And
I think small businesses especially do struggle with that a little bit, just because the brand is your identity. With Ohio Valley Bank, your brand should be the all-encompassing attitude and feeling of your company. And for instance, where I work, I know it's a little bit larger and we're talking about small businesses, but when you're talking about brand regardless of size, when you look at where you're at and where you want to be, you want to make sure your brand and your image and what the public thinks of you basically is true reflection of who you are as a company. And as I said, for instance, Ohio Valley Bank, our brand is community first, and that shines through in everything we do. It guides every decision we make. It guides every product we offer or every service we offer, even so far as to some of the special initiatives that we do in the community.
so a lot of small businesses that we work with, we talk to them about the importance of, conveying that consistent message, or
Absolutely.
whether it's a logo or, they might invest, they might gather up enough money in reserve to put together a sign or have a nice sign made for their storefront. But if they go out and have, T-shirts printed as promotional materials and just do something different with those, different colors, different font, different print, it's really counterproductive to their overall marketing campaign, because they're really not bringing all that together, or making it
Exactly.
consistent.
Consistency is the key word. When it comes to branding, color and your images, all of that works together, because we're a very visual creature. Everything we do and decide how we feel, a lot of it comes from our visual interests. So consistent color, and determining, when you're determining what color, that would even be, you would even need to decide about yourself. As I said, we're going to keep going back to thinking of who you are and what you want to portray, because the color expresses the attitude of your company.
Different colors would express different
Exactly.
attitudes, different feelings, different thoughts.
Exactly.
Sure. Okay. So, what are some examples of how you incorporate Ohio Valley Bank's brand into marketing?
Okay. A lot of what we, as I said, you'll see community first in just about everything we do, but it is so much more than a tagline. We incorporate that into our decision making, as I said, but even just advertising. We were talking about the difference between marketing and advertising. Our ads, we make sure we focus on community interests, community images, community special places and things that are important to our communities. And then we also take it a step farther because, as we said, marketing and advertising are different. So from the marketing side of it, the holistic side of it, we're also looking at doing things in our community, such as we have at Ohio Valley Bank, we have Impact Days, which is pretty unique and special, something that we're proud of. Our company gives every employee 3 days to go out into the public and volunteer. These are paid days, and these are on top of vacation days. But we're encouraged to actually go out and get involved
in the community.
Sure.
Well, that's great. That is great. So, obviously, working within the marketing department of the bank, and a lot of customers at the bank, and obviously all of their finances run through the bank and loans, and it's important that those businesses are successful.
Absolutely.
For many reasons. If you have a client company that's with the bank that needs some help with some marketing or branding, what are some suggestions you might give to them? How can you help them develop a brand, or do you have some resources?
We have some great ideas for some resources. There are a lot of resources out there for all different sizes of businesses, but especially with small business, at the risk of tooting Ohio State University South Center's own horn, the OSU South Center's Small Business Development Center program is a phenomenal place to go to get guidance and direction on that. But in addition, the Small Business Administration is a great resource to gather some of this. And there are many other things. If anyone is listening or sees this and would like to contact me, I'd be happy to give them some other suggestions and ideas and things they could do.
Right.
Because again, it depends on size of company. What you can do and what you can't do varies.
Right.
That was a great advertisement, and we didn't have to pay her to say that.
That's
either.
Exactly right. Well, and like you said, that's something that we can help companies that we work with the Small Business Development Center along those avenues.
Actually, I read a business plan this morning before we came here, and that's the one area that I thought could probably use the most work was in the marketing, just the marketing plan in general.
Exactly.
Well,
and like we talked about a little bit earlier, putting together that marketing plan, that's something we can assist with. And the business owner obviously has all the ideas in their head of what they want to do, where they want to go, how they want to get there. But putting it all together is the difficult part. And that's something that we can help them through. It's just, how do I do this? Just kind of the uncertainty of how to do something for the first time.
Exactly.
We've all done things for the first time, whether it's, assemble children's Christmas toys. If you might open up the package here recently and you sit down and spend 3 hours putting something together.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, if you would go and put a second one together, you could do it in a half an hour.
Exactly.
Very easily.
Yeah.
And that's the same way with writing a business plan or a marketing plan. It's just kind of that uncertainty once you work through all those steps.
that's a good point.
Well, and that's someone, a dear friend of mine many years ago, one of her favorite lines or phrases was, never be afraid to ask. Only a fool is afraid to ask. So we all need help. Never be afraid. Every successful person in this world has asked for help and asked for guidance and even just something to bounce ideas off of.
Some of us, it just takes a little longer to ask.
And there are no stupid
I'm
questions.
there with you.
Right. So,
But you brought up a point too with the marketing plans that made me think. We were talking about marketing plans, but one of the key elements too with a marketing plan is most companies, regardless of size, you should also have a strategic plan in place where your company wants to go, what direction, sales goals, investments, everything. There should be a strategic plan. And a lot of your marketing plan is going to come from that strategic plan.
right. And that can be vastly different depending
Exactly.
on who your customer or audience is. Completely different plans depending on
Exactly.
that. And it's really important that it's tailor-made to reach that
to
direct
reach that.
audience. Yes.
And then on the other side of that coin, what are some of the pitfalls that you think businesses might encounter if they don't have a strategic plan in place or a marketing plan or at least something?
The two key pitfalls, in my opinion, would be wasting time and wasting resources. I kind of think of it as going out and shooting a bow and arrow. If most of us have a target and we're aiming toward that target, we aren't going to go out into a field and just shoot an arrow up into the air and hope and pray that it comes down and lands in the right spot. Having your plan in place, knowing what direction you want to go, that way even when something unexpected or unusual comes up, it gives you a little more of a guidance in how to maneuver around that.
Yeah.
And that's so funny you answered it that way, because that's pretty much what we tell our SBDC clients with a business plan is, sometimes you might have a plan in place and it doesn't always go the way you wanted to, but if you have that business plan, you can go back and kind of regather yourself and say, well, this didn't work, we might need to tweak it a little bit, and then so you've got a working, and the marketing plans, I'm sure, is a working plan
Exactly.
too.
And especially with small businesses, because their resources are so limited to begin with.
Yeah.
You need to mitigate wasting of time and resources as much as possible.
Sure.
Right. So, when we help folks put together a business plan or marketing plan, there's always some, main areas of that plan that they need to address and focus
Exactly.
on. And I'm obviously, within the marketing, it's very important that you address critical areas. And what are some of the critical areas when putting together a marketing plan that you think that really should be addressed, or, they should contain these certain elements within
Certain
that plan?
elements of the plan. First and foremost, as I said, you've got to do the research first, because your first part of your plan is developing and determining your target. Beyond that, then you have to incorporate how to, what resources, what your dollar limit is, so that you can then allocate your resources and what you have available to those goals. And at the very end, measurement, regardless of size, is always going to be key. Because every year, even at Ohio Valley Bank, we have a plan. We continually stick to that plan, but as things change and we have to shift a little bit, we review it at the end of the year, make adjustments as needed to then guide what we do in the following year.
Yeah. So it's important to go back and look and make sure and
Absolutely.
measure that.
That is key.
Yes.
Yep.
A
So-
plan doesn't work real well if you just put it in a drawer. It's great to write a plan, but if you put it in a drawer,
It's useless.
it's useless.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Now, for the computer impaired like I am, a lot of the businesses that Brad and I work with, or our counselors work with around the region, don't have a substantial budget set aside for
Right.
design, for marketing, for advertising, for all the above.
Exactly.
A lot of times it's just, let me get open, and then I'll take a little bit of the first year's profits or the first month's profits, put them aside, and we'll advertise with it. So as far as designing or coming up with like graphic design, do you have any tips that would be helpful to small businesses on a low budget?
Absolutely, because it actually is very rare for most small businesses to be able to handle or conduct their own graphics and advertising design. But the good thing is, especially with small businesses, and if you're just getting started in this, colleges and universities are great resources. to go out and talk to. I know the University of Rio Grande has a program, and most of them have programs that they're more than happy to help you or kind of let their class get some hands-on
Hands-on,
right.
training,
Sure.
so to speak,
Yep.
and help you with that.
Okay.
So colleges and universities are great. There are also some online, of course, resources, Inkspace, GIMP. There's several, there are many YouTube tutorials
Right.
that you can use. But I'm a fan of keeping it local and personal.
Sure.
And colleges and universities are a great place to.
Right.
Well, and
We have done some company projects here at Rio recently with some of our client companies that we've worked with. And, you know, kind of the surprising thing that you do find from projects like that, where you get a lot of different people involved, and maybe some people that don't really know the industry that well, is, you know, you start on the project, you start working toward some specific opportunity, but then all these outside thinkers
Yes.
come up with new ideas, new opportunities that you as an individual business owner really don't think of.
Oh, yes.
And it's just that new blood, that new freshness that comes into the company and gives you new ideas that
And when you're a larger company, you have that luxury.
have
like,
that
like
luxury.
At the bank, we get a group together frequently. Even though there's just, you know, a few of us in marketing, we'll get a whole group together to bounce ideas off of and get thoughts and, you know,
Right.
get everybody involved.
Right. And a lot of times small businesses that we see struggle with that.
Exactly.
And it's just like, you know, how you start out and you're so focused on the daily operations of keeping the business going, growing the business and promoting the business sometimes gets overlooked because you don't have
Sure.
time to
It
do it
does.
all.
Absolutely.
really
You just
does.
really don't.
Yeah.
So,
So if we could, maybe we could flip just a little bit and go from marketing to advertising. And I
Okay.
know we talked earlier that there's a difference in
fine
that.
line
So,
there.
you know, what are some elements that effective advertising would contain, developing an advertisement for certain products, certain whatever?
Again, for those who aren't tired of hearing it, after you've determined your target, make sure you have highlighted the features and benefits right up front, narrow those down so that, you know, too much verbiage just gets lost. But have your features and benefits that are most important to that target. List those up front. That's the key. At some point in your ad, you want to have what we in the business call the call to action, what you want that ad to accomplish, what you want that consumer hearing or reading that ad to do in response. But compliance, you know, and legal issues, things like that will always factor in too, and that's a whole other.
And a lot of times,
That's a day-long topic.
yes.
yeah, if you do see an advertisement on a certain rate or a good, if you open a checking account,
Right.
this happens or whatever. A lot of times, right down at the bottom, you see this real fine print that you almost have to get a magnifying glass out
Yes.
to look at. And what does that usually say or entail?
Why?
Yeah. Do we need to
That's-
read it as a consumer?
We get this question, for anyone who's ever been in marketing, gets this question from everyone, including their own family members. And, you know, what that entails is in a nutshell, legal disclosures that are required by the U.S. government. Now, that is true regardless of whether you're a bank or any other type of business.
Okay.
Banks just have a lot more regulations,
Yeah.
so we get to have more fine print. But it is true of any business, so we recommend if you aren't aware, or even if you are and you just need to keep touch on things, always check the Uniform Commercial Code with your business and see what's required.
That was going to be my question is, how would small businesses keep up on that? How would they know what regulations are needed, what the right verbiage to put on the advertisement to keep them out of trouble? So,
And it varies depending, obviously, on the type of business. But you know, what you would want to do is consult the Uniform Commercial Code, But then there are also resources online that can help you understand, because you get into some of that legal
Sure.
stuff that sometimes is over all of our heads. So.
Yeah. Okay.
So, once we've developed some of that material to put out there, is there maybe some secret ways you can share with some of the viewers about opportunities they can take up? A lot of companies, again, don't have much money to spend.
Exactly.
So maybe some low cost or free avenues to kind of get that message out there to the consumer?
Absolutely, and that's the best part of marketing, and especially for small businesses. There are so many things that don't require funds and investment at all, or at least very minimal. To me, and I'm a former chamber board member, so I preach chamber, but leverage your community. And a great place to start is joining your Chamber of Commerce, your local chamber, if you haven't already. Get involved in the events and the business programs and opportunities that they have there. Because networking, getting out in the public, getting other professionals in your region to get to know you and refer you makes a world of difference, and that is absolutely free. The referrals are the best. Some other things are many people have probably heard the term guerrilla marketing, but what that is just creativity to the max. Things that don't cost a lot, that get your company out there and noticed, and gets you free media coverage. That's another key thing. Do things that create buzz in the community. Help your community. Go out and draw pictures on the sidewalk in sidewalk chalk. Anything that creates buzz and gets people talking will not only, as we all know, go quickly on social media, but but your local media, your newspapers and other local people will start talking about it and seek you out for information.
Well, I know we're running short on time, but there is one other thing one question or topic I'd like to ask or talk about real quick, and that is, community members need to realize how much, we hit on it earlier with the bank being a part of the community, and taking, having 3 days off to go be a part of something. That's only a small part of it, because, when the banks are at the fair and they're bidding on livestock, when the Girl Scouts come in and say we need, or the 4-H comes in and say we need, or could we have a $50 donation or whatever, that's all built into your marketing plan. Is that correct?
As part of the marketing plan, we set aside a certain level, and it's a very high percentage in our case, because again, our key focus is community first. So that's what drives that portion of our marketing plan. And we have a very high percentage of donation budget for our plan, and that's because investing back in the community reaps, in our opinion, benefits tenfold.
Sure.
Yeah. So for a small business, any kind of an idea of how much they should be thinking about maybe budgeting out of their activities for marketing? I know it varies depending on
it varies depending on what you're trying to do. A good safe estimate, the Small Business Administration recommends 7 to 8% of your revenue or expected revenue stream. But even that, especially if you're a new or very small business, even that can be a little steep sometimes. But again, set aside a certain amount. You can't start a business or run a marketing plan of any sort without having at least an idea of how much you can spend and what you can do.
Right. So don't put a business plan together as a prospective business owner.
Yes.
Come to Ohio Valley Bank and want a $500,000 loan to start a restaurant and say, I don't have anything for advertising or marketing my budget.
Exactly.
It's all going to be through word of mouth.
That is a key
So
part
don't
of
do
your
that.
strategic plan.
Okay, all right. So I better
Very
have
key.
some real dollars budgeted in there, or I'm
Yes.
probably not going to get the loan.
That is very true.
Okay, well, great. Well, I
been
think
very
we're about out of
informative.
time, yeah.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
for
I appreciate
sharing a lot
the
of information,
opportunity
a lot
to
of
be
good
here.
information.
But Kyla, thank you so much for coming on the program today. pleasure to have you.
Thank
And
you.
it's,
It was an honor to be here.
Continuing a great string of guests we've had from the bank, and very great personalities, and a wonderful time. So, but anyway. All right. Well, I guess
Thanks.
that's all till the next time, and we will see you back here in February.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.